If you like a lot of football on your podcasts, hold and give. Oh, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm getting bullied into doing it by the people who watch this, so we need to please them, so we'll keep it up for the time being. Welcome to the Hold and Give Football podcast. I am Ross Tweddell, joined by Jack Atkins. Jack Atkins, who I doubt knew that Nemanja Vidic is the only Premier League winner with a surname made up of entirely Roman numerals. You got so V, which is 5. You've got I, which is 1. You've got D, which is 500. And C, which is 100.
So he's 607.
Out of 100 in terms of his ability on the football pitch. Yes, exactly. And maybe, as we're sat here now in 2023, 607 years old.
That wouldn't surprise me. I, this week, have a fact for you, Ross.
Shut up. Are we going to have fact wars now at the start of the podcast?
No. It was just I was scrolling the other day and I went into a Wikipedia scroll hole and I found myself on this player in question's Wikipedia page. So, can you name me the only player to score a hat-trick in the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, League Cup, FA Cup and on international duty? Only one player has done it.
Jonathan Walters.
Robert Earnshaw.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
West Bromwich Albion, I remember that. Charlton away, no 405. I don't know why I remember that, but I remember watching Match of the Day that week and seeing Robbie Earnshaw get a hat-trick.
Yeah, and he was banging them in for Cardiff and obviously Wales for international. I don't know how I ended up on his page, but I was reading something. I just thought, bloody hell, Robert Earnshaw, I forgot about him. Clicked on it, and then, that little tidbit is at the top of his page. So thank you, anonymous Wikipedia editors.
Which, of course,
Probably
is the best source of information on the whole internet, because anyone can edit it at any time, so you're always getting the best possible source out there.
Yes. Well, I told you about the time I edited Des Lynam's page years ago, and it stayed that way for months.
What did you put?
It basically said, Lynam was married to his, missus for X amount of years, and then after they split up, he was with his, living partner for so many years. And I just put, one day while bored, both women said that Lynam was an extremely sensitive lover, and it just stayed there for months and months and months. So,
I mean, he did have the tickler. We all know that, don't we? He would go up behind them, right, and then lift their arm up and go like, ooh, under their armpits. It was fantastic scenes.
I'm surprised you didn't use this as an excuse to do your favourite Des Lynam moment of all time.
What? If by Rudyard Kipling.
Of course.
I forget what album it was when I was growing up, but yeah, Des Lynam just reading that out with a little bit of flutery in the background. I hope that's not an inappropriate word, inadvertently used there. A little bit of flute playing in the background. It's spine-tingling stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you showed it to me in the office once, and you were just... I'm surprised you didn't stand up with one hand on your heart.
I always well up when I hear it, but I guess we go from Des Lynam to something that might be getting you welled up. In the football news today, we're sat here on Wednesday, June the 7th, 2023. This afternoon it's been revealed that big Gary Mack is coming back to Liverpool. Who would have thought of it?
I mean, we loved his Barca goal, his Derby goal, his baldy head. He's Gary Mack. I mean... Superb, absolutely superb. Obviously, we're not talking about Gary Mack, we're talking about Alex Mack, and not the... was Alex Mack on Nickelodeon, was it, years ago?
I was a Cartoon Network boy, so I've got no idea.
Yeah. But yeah, Alexis McAllister, he was booked in for his medical yesterday, so he still hasn't been officially announced by the club, so we're all just waiting. But rumours are saying around 35 million, which
How can that be 35 million? Well... I've been looking at Fabrizio Romano's Twitter today, and a report from The Athletic as well, saying that Brighton added an unusual clause to the midfielder's deal when he signed a contract extension with Brighton back in October 2022. According to The Athletic, McAllister's contract contains a clause that was designed to help facilitate a move. Nobody knows what this clause is, apart from, you buy one, you get one free. Bug off, 50% off. Seemingly, that's what's... Because we were getting quoted sort of 60, 70 million quid last week for McAllister going to Liverpool. Then all of a sudden, thanks to this clause, half off. He's 35.
Yeah, because we thought it was going to be 45, and, in my group chat, to be like, that's not bad. And then when it's come out as 35, obviously, modern football, the way things are structured, we probably will end up paying close to 50 odd million. But the words they were using was mechanism. It wasn't a transfer release, like a release clause. It was a mechanism in his contract. So I don't know if he had it in writing saying, if Liverpool, United, City, etc. come in for us. You've got to entertain the offer, or who knows. But yeah, it's good. It's nice.
I don't know why, but when I heard mechanism there, I just thought of like Liverpool owners having to go down to Brighton's training ground and McAllister being sat on one of those things you see at the fair where you have to throw the thing at the target, then he falls into the little pit of water below. And they had to nail that one to get the deal done. If you hit the target there, it's 35 million. If you miss the target there, it's 70 million. So John Henry's obviously nailed that target. He's fallen into the water, and that's the mechanism that's got this deal done.
He'll do anything to save a couple of quid, John Henry.
Hey!
Hey! But yeah, it's good. Good piece of business. Us being insatiable bastards, we're just like, right, cool, let's get Coney and Thuram done now. We've also been heavily linked with Lavia and Vega as well, but we need a whole new midfield. But if we can get the first piece of the puzzle in for 35 million, good start.
Yeah, very good start. You got 3 or 4 more centre midfielders. How many are you saying? You got Thiago still there, obviously. Jordan Henderson's kicking around.
Yeah, Thiago's made of crisps. Henderson ain't the player he used to be.
Curtis Jones was like, Klopp was raving about him towards the end of the season.
He hit a lovely bit of form. As soon as we changed that formation to kind of facilitate Trent as more of a midfielder, it really worked for Curtis Jones as well. But again, there's questions about his injury record, and I think he's still only like 21, 22. He's got time to develop, but looks like we're playing the long game. So watch this space.
That's how you woo people with the long game, I've been told. Anyway, we go to Saturday's FA Cup final. 15 seconds in Ilkay Gundogan hoofs it in the top corner. Lovely goal, direct football. Pep Guardiola, you love to see it. And obviously Manchester City go on to win trophy number 2 of a potential treble against Manchester United, who I didn't think laid a glove on them the entire game just about.
No, not at all. We were watching it. We were old school. We were watching it on a phone in a pub without a TV in it. With one of my mates who's a Man United fan, and we couldn't get it up for like the first 2 minutes. And as soon as we went in, it was like, it's already 1-0. Fantastic. Gundogan's goal as well. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And for me, the match was summed up by as much City's dominance as... It's unfair to pick out one player from United, but David De Gea, he's turned into such a weird player for me. Because obviously he got the Golden Glove last season in the Premier League. But he's either unplayable or he looks a bit amateurish. He never just has an alright game. He's either brilliant or a bit poo. And I thought he was a bit poo.
Yeah, that second goal should never ever go in. It was a wonderful pick out by De Bruyne. Gundogan, it sort of rolls off his knee, off his shin, off his foot, and just sort of bobbles in. I saw someone saying, well, it's the dry pitch and the top spin that's confused De Gea. Get in the bin, will you? It was about 45 yards out by the time you hit the ball. You had plenty of time to get there. Obviously, De Gea's position as well, I saw, was picked up because he was too far at his front post for the free kick to get across the goal as quick as he should do. But I think it just comes down to competition. Like, for the longest time now at Man United, it feels like they've had De Gea, and then they've had... I mean, Henderson was probably the last one to challenge him for his number 1 spot in that lockdown season, and he... Especially against Liverpool, I remember, I think it was Salah when he went through one-on-one and Henderson was sort of stood all the way over here and Salah just put it there. Ever since those days, just had no competition, so De Gea can get away with murder, but he knows he's going to play next week.
Because even at that time, there were some elements of the United fan base who were just like, give it Henderson, permanently, but stuck with De Gea. Arguably the better choice. I think he is the better keeper, but like we were saying then, you just don't know which version of him's going to turn up. Yeah,
but it was just so disappointing to see Man United not put a glove on Man City. Like, you think in a cup final, you try and take the game, but then again, it might be the occasion. Like, I watched my Newcastle in February at Wembley. We didn't lay a glove on Man United then, so maybe it was the occasion of just coming up against Guardiola. It was a bit of a disappointment for me, but now they've got the second trophy in the bag. Are they going to make it a treble there, Jack Atkins?
Obviously, I hope not, but I think they will. It's just... I know, I'll have the Champions League on, I'll probably get a chippy in, I'll probably have one hand on my phone and look up and be like, oh, they banged in a third, okay, after 20 minutes, but
I tell you what, there's precedent for a little bit of hope for Inter Milan, though. If you go back to the 2021 final when Man City played Chelsea, and Pep turned into prime Claudio Ranieri, dilly-ding, dilly-dong, he started I think he said tiddling there. He started tiddling with his, obviously, Claudio Ranieri was the big tiddler. That was his big nickname. Not the Tinkerman. Not the Tinkerman at all. He was the big tiddler. Loved pissing on gardens, yeah, like dog. But no, he fiddled with his lineup, didn't he? Obviously, he dropped, I think it was Rodri dropped for that final, and it bit him on the arse good and proper, because I think he went into it a little bit overconfident, perhaps. Will he do that again, potentially against an Inter Milan team who, under Inzaghi, they're proper, I don't know what it is. They remind me of Bolton from the mid-noughties, right? And the fact that they're proper, dogged and aggressive, and they've got players like a Gary Speed or an Even Campo in the middle of the park. But then they've got the little bits of quality in their areas that matter that they can punish Man City with to get the ball to them at the right times. That's the weirdest thing I've ever said in my life.
But there's precedent as well, anything could go in a final. I don't want to keep harping on about Rafa Benitez's mustard reds, but Istanbul, Liverpool had no right being in that final against that AC Milan squad and pulled it out of the bag, so you never know. With City, though, I think Pep's learned his lesson, because there was a few seasons on the bounce that he'd do that tinkering whenever he played Liverpool. He'd just be like, right, we're in form, this team works, but they'll be expecting that, so I'll put, I don't know, Jermaine Genius, I'll get him out of retirement, I'll sign him, I'll put him in goal. And we're just like, what have you done that for? And you just flap it. But he's an emotional manager, but I think this season, they're unstoppable.
They are unstoppable. Just in case you wonder what Inter Milan's record, obviously, Man City's only had that one final against Chelsea back in 2021. Inter have had 5. They've won 3, lost 2, scored 7 against 5. The last one, of course, was 13 years ago. Milito in the final against Bayern Munich. That was a weird season, that, wasn't it? Just the way the Inter just were under Mourinho, a bunch of arseholes getting to the final and then winning quite comfortably in the end.
Yeah, because it seemed to come out of nowhere, because I think it had been a couple of years from that point, before Mourinho joined, that Inter weren't quite the force they were, but what season was it? When did Juventus come back up? Because Juventus kind of bubbling for a bit. Milan, the last great Milan side fell off, and Inter were just like, oh, there's a bit of a void here, why jump into it, get Mourinho in, play some horrible football and win everything.
But that was fantastic when he was in the Camp Nou, obviously, just giving it the big one, having outworked and outthought Pep's Barcelona back in the day. But yeah, I think all eyes that season were on Madrid, because obviously 2009 was the summer when they signed Alonso and Ronaldo and Benzema and whoever else they signed, Jermaine Genius in goal.
Yeah.
But it was a weird time, but yeah, I just think it's going to be an easy Manchester City win. I hope I'm wrong. It'd be nice to see a competitive final with lots of goals.
Yeah, especially, seeing the Man City title parade and about 15 drunk mancs in the street, as opposed to a Milan title victory, in which case, there might be cars on fire, who knows. So some of my mates they're in Italy next week. They're going to Milan, but they're not going to be in Milan for the final, because they were just like, oh, how do we play this? Because, we might get battered. So I think they're just going to quietly watch it again on a phone and just be like, oh, okay, at least City haven't won. Fingers crossed.
In a bunker somewhere, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Speaking of cars on fire, by the way, do you see Spalletti get his steering wheel back this week?
Yeah, I did.
That was fantastic, man. You've got to leave our club. We want you out of here. So we're going to take you. Well, we're going to burn your car to the ground and take your steering wheel just for good measure, just for a final kick in the nads. But now you've won the league, you can have your steering wheel back. We're not fickle at all.
I like the fact they kept hold of it.
Just dangling a bit of string from a tree every time they lose. Just punch it right in the horn bit. But congratulations to Mr. Spalletti for getting his steering wheel back and his tattoos on his arms. He's seen that as well. It's all kicking off over there, yeah. Just because he won the league, he was getting a Napoli sort of it's like one of those ones where it's like the skin's ripped, that sort of effect, and that sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, nice things in Italy going on. Sevilla have won the Europa League since the last time we were sat here chatting to each other. Anthony Taylor was obviously the big news coming out of it. The horrible scenes in the airport where he's getting just pelters, all sorts. His wife is there. I think his kids were there as well. Completely I think Mourinho was at fault for that entire situation, because we've all been there as football fans, especially with Anthony Taylor in the Premier League. He's not prone to an error in the Premier League, but you don't ever see fans attacking them, of Premier League clubs after a little mistake. Well, what is perceived as a mistake in a big final like that. But Mourinho's comments after the game really did take things to another level, I thought. And I think if Mourinho, I mean, who knows? If Mourinho didn't say that, would it have still happened? We don't know, because it's very much a different sort of culture over there in terms of following football like they do in Italy. But you would like to think if he didn't say that, those scenes in the airport wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, well, the very... I'm going to use the word passionate fan base, Roma fans. Mourinho's been... Is it a 4-match ban for next season in Europe?
I've not even looked that up. Let me look that up while you're talking.
Yeah. I watched the highlights of the match. And I hate the fact that we're having to talk about referees again. And I think VAR got one right for the potential severe penalty.
Yeah.
And I thought, like I said, it's a highlights package. You don't see all the bad refereeing decisions. I did think, from what I saw, Roma were the better team for me. Yeah. And they should have had a penalty for the high boot on Tammy Abraham in the first half. I know it's a bit soft, but again, we need consistency. And this is our third podcast, and again, we're saying about the standard of refereeing, blah, 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 blah. But they should be able to do their job without fear that, the wife's not going to get swilled in an airport. It was horrible scenes.
Yeah, just as we're sat here now, I think UEFA are ready to suspend Mourinho for 4 games for what happened in the aftermath of that final. I mean, I thought, in Taylor's defence, I thought both sets of players were being a bit petty, a little bit like too much gamesmanship going on, so I think he was well within his rights to show as many cards as he did. And
yes.
I guess you can see why both sets of fans would be upset, but again, for Mourinho to take things to that level again, that the ban hasn't been confirmed as we're sat here on Wednesday afternoon, June the 7th. He shouldn't have done it. And he needs to make an example of the guy, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it was a very narky game. Every single decision, no matter which side it went to, they just swarmed the referee and hounded him. So he did keep his composure. I'll give him that. But I mean, it's Jose Mourinho. We love him when he's being an arsehole in a charming way, but then when he's an arsehole in an arsehole way, it's like, oh, he's quite nasty, isn't he?
Yeah, and I was saying there, make an example out of him. You don't want to get it's because it's sad the way football is these days, where in post-match interviews and whatnot, managers are like, we can't say much, otherwise we're going to get fined. There needs to be a finer line between fining people for giving an opinion which is well within the rights of giving that opinion, for example, whether just disagreeing with the decision or asking why this decision was made. But then when you do get extreme examples like this Mourinho one, I think that's when the fines need to come in. Because some of the reasons you see, I think Klopp's a big one who's just I can't really talk about that. Yeah. Who was it that said, if I speak, I am in trouble? A couple of years ago, I can't remember who it was now. Who cares who it was? But that happened anyway. Some man said that to do with football. There needs to be a better barometer of when fines and suspensions and stuff come in for comments after a game, I think.
I am just Googling, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. It was Mourinho.
Oh, it was Mourinho?
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah. Like we've said before on this podcast, post-match, take the referee himself out of the firing line, and like I said, a fourth official or someone else should give a statement saying, to the letter of the law, we've done this, 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 and this. Again, there's no easy answer to this though, because we've seen in the Premier League that with Howard Webb, it's quite jobs for the boys. It's looking after. It's like, oh, here's the VAR decisions we did get right and not showing the crap ones. I don't know. It's just a bit rotten all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah. Get Howard Webb out there, the arsehole. Anyway, congratulations to Gonzalo Montiel especially. What a few months he's had. He slots away the winning penalty in the World Cup final and then slots away the winning penalty in the Europa League final as well.
Can we get rid of the penalty encroachment rule for goalkeepers? I hate it. I hate it so much. It's terrible.
You would say that as a Liverpool fan of that 05 final, Dudek coming on the 6-yard line. Knobhead.
Yeah, but I mean, if penalty takers are allowed a run up and, not as much stuttering as they used to, but they're allowed to fart around and a goalkeeper can't come an inch off his line.
I tell you what you should do. Give the goalkeeper a trampoline on the line for an extra bit of spring. That's how you stop encroachment. In a fair way.
Yeah, and try and see how many Rennie Higuitas they try and pull off. It'd be amazing.
Like they're 6 years old and their mum's back on. Mum, look at this. Whoa! You know that Jordan
Winded.
Pickford would try it every time, this stupid little angry man. Anyway, goodbye to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. 32 trophies over the course of his career. League titles in Holland, Italy, Spain and France. He turned out for Malmo. Here we go. Malmo, Ajax, Juventus, Inter Milan, Barcelona, AC Milan. Then again, AC Milan permanently. Paris Saint-Germain, Man United, the Galaxy in the MLS. And then finally rounding things off in Milan. League games, 637 played, 405 league goals. Total in his career. Move across there, computer, you silly little thing. What are you doing to me? Why'd you do this now when we're doing this podcast live? It's gone upside down. 866 games, 511 goals. And despite all of that, all people seem to talk about is his interviews.
Yeah, straight away I remembered it was John Carew. The great John Carew who's taking
Just
the piss
spilled
out
my
of
water
once.
at the sound of John Carew's name there. Terrifying.
One of my mates loved John Carew, but I think it was something. I think Carew had dissed him, and he said, what Carew does with a football, I can do with an orange or something odd like that. I just went straight on and was just going back for watching some of my favourite goals from him. Remembering obviously the absolute. I was going to say the dry bumming he gave England. Let's not beat around the bush.
To be fair, no, that bicycle kick was completely slobbered with some sort of lubricant there, because the way he flew through that air, my goodness.
Yeah, it was the fact that he had the audacity to try it. He had the patience and the vision for it, and somehow the power while twisting and landing on his front. Amazing.
And 12 feet in the air.
Yeah. And then I remembered his debut for LA Galaxy, and he comes on and just scores like a 45-yard volley straight away. It's like, oh my word! I nearly swore then. I
know,
nearly
you
swore.
You stopped yourself there. Be careful now. We're on YouTube. You need to be careful.
Oh,
But
God.
you go back to Ajax as well. Like that goal where he takes on like the whole entire team in the box and just slots it away.
Yeah.
So many good highlights. I mean, I guess you look at his record there. I think he became this sort of like the phenom in his own head, if you want to use that Christian Pulisic term, when he was at Paris, which was a bit weird because you can do it in the French league and then turn into this like godly figure in your own mind. But then you go back to Barcelona, and this might be me rewriting the history in my head, but I thought there was all that stuff about him not fitting into Pep's system and sort of being humbled by Pep. I guess that's the only real blight on his career wherever he's been. Like, because wherever he's been, he scored goals. I mean, you look at his record there. The worst place he's been for goals, I think, is Juventus between 04 and 06, 23 and 70 league games. But apart from that, it's all up there.
Yeah, I always felt, I don't think sorry is the right word for him, but when he, obviously, I think it was when he was at Inter, Barca won the Champions League. So he went to Barca and Inter won the Champions League. So then he left Barca for Milan and Barca won the Champions League again. He's always a season away from it, wasn't he? But
Yeah,
what a player. I don't think we'll ever see anything like him for a very long time. That amount of skill and just that level of confidence. What a weird man.
Haaland could be up there. If Haaland's practicing yoga now, Haaland could be, in terms of like longevity and being at the top of the game for, well, you say at the top of the game, I know he went to LA Galaxy from Man United, but he still scored 52 goals in 56 league games, so he's still at a hell of a level at the age of 41 when he retired, so hopefully Haaland's practicing yoga now to make sure his career is going to be elongated towards the end.
He just needs to grow a little moustache, and then he's got the whole package for me.
But what a player. I hope we do see another Zlatan very soon, because beyond anything else, apart from being a fantastic player, it's just entertaining. We need more arseholes in football, don't we? Not to the extent of Mourinho, as we just talked about there, but,
A lovable arsehole.
Towards that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I've caught this bit of the news. It's Saudi mania in the soccer, which is a thing I never thought I'd say, but there we go. Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund will take control of 4 of the kingdom's top football clubs, including Al Nassr, which Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, as the government revives its plan to privatise several state-owned football clubs. PIF, those people who are involved in Newcastle United and other things, will own 75% of Al Ittihad, Al Ahly, Al Nassr and Al Hilal. The Sports Community said on Twitter on Monday, following a report by state news agency SPA, that Saudi Arabia will privatise several sports clubs from the fourth quarter, whatever the bloody hell that is. Well, from later this year, I guess. All those teams are in the top division in Saudi Arabia, except Al Ahly. God, they're tongue twisters them for people who aren't used to saying them like me, who are in the second division. PIF has previously taken over several companies before privatising them. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Newcastle. Newcastle private anyway? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. They'll be a limited company, won't they? I don't know what I'm talking about here. Anyway, this is the crucial bit, unlike in the Premier League and other European teams, Saudi clubs are not bound by UEFA's rules, obviously, on spending, meaning there is no limit on the salaries PIF can offer to lure top players to the Middle East, which is terrifying.
The way I've not looked too much into how this works. So we're saying that they own 75% of all the teams in question. So I take it, are they just becoming the money and business side of it and then leaving the 25% to the football side of it?
You would imagine it would be a similar setup to how Newcastle are owned, because Newcastle are owned majority, like, if you look at like a pie, pies, the biggest slice of the pie is owned by PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. Then we've got little people, I say little people, we've got people like Amanda Stavia, Murdad, Jamie Rubin, who own the other little bit there, who are more day-to-day running while the PIF do the big picture stuff. I think that's how it'll be split up.
Yeah, because I was trying to say, how would it not be a conflict of interest in terms of spending? Like, I don't know if you've ever tried playing chess against yourself. I can't really play chess, but I've still tried playing chess against myself. And for all the best will in the world, you think, I'll have an even game. And you favour one side over the other and just absolutely batter yourself. I don't know how they're not just going to go, well, Al Nassr, you can have all these great players, and Al Hilal, you can have Jermaine Genius in goal. I'm waiting to see if this experiment works. I'm not. Part of me still thinking that it's going to be like, was it the late 70s when they first tried kicking off soccer in the States?
Pele and stuff. George Best. I
think Beckenbauer went over there for a bit as well.
Yeah, Pele and the Cosmos, was it?
Yeah. So I'm not. Part of me's thinking, it could do that where, they get the headlines and stuff, but everyone just goes, not really this, and then setting the seeds for something proper to emerge years later, or if this is just going to be, right, we're taking all the best players when they're past their prime, come watch the Masters League, basically, but under a 55-degree sun.
Yeah, that's all it's going to be, I think, until that one player who is in their prime gets lured by the sort of fees they are paying for these players who have been there and done that. Much like Karim Benzema, who was obviously, the news is now out, he's left Real Madrid, and he is going to Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia. Reportedly, according to Big Fabrizio, €200 million per season net salary. Commercial deals included. I think it was a 2-year deal he signed with the option for a further season. By the way, that team is managed by Nuno Espirito Santo, so there's a good chance that Karim Benzema will never score another goal again.
I like Nuno.
To be fair, Spurs did him dirty, I think, because I did enjoy his Wolves team. I know they were a little bit, defensive-minded, but I thought when he had those players ticking, Big Raul up front was banging them in before he did his head in and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do think Nuno's had a little bit hard done by Spurs. I do apologise for saying that.
Don't worry, I'll make sure he hears it.
But Benzema, he's won 5 Champions League, 4 La Ligas, 14 years with Madrid. He's 35 years old now. I'll repeat that. €200 million per season net salary, commercial deals included.
Fair balls to him.
I know.
I mean, take the money and run. I mean, you can question how the money gets there. You can question ethics, but it's the way the game's going. You've got to, you'll yourself know as a Newcastle fan, you've got to try and put it to one side, really, haven't you?
I mean, it's still
a big, massive sports washing thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still a massive sports washing thing. You can't get away from that. It's that 2030 project, whatever it's called, over in Saudi Arabia. But to be fair, if you were Karim Benzema and you've been there and done it, and the only way you would think is down for him now at the age of 35 in terms of like just his body giving up after such a long career at the top level, playing all these games he does every year, travelling around the world. I know he was missing from the French team for a while after what went on with who was it with? Was it with Deschamps back in the day when they all had a big falling out?
Yeah, Deschamps and his weird little teeth.
Yeah.
You ever seen Didier Deschamps' teeth? They're terrifying. No. He's got really small teeth.
Like a pug. But yeah, he's obviously, the only way is down. So for him to having won everything there is to win, basically, Ballon d'Or was there as well. For him to go to Al Ittihad, you can't really, I don't think you can say much about that one. It's when that player in their prime, it's like when China about 10 years ago, when they started taking people like Oscar from Chelsea and whoever else went out there, I can't remember at the time, off the top of my head at the minute. When they start going there, that's when we need to put our foot down and tie them down on chairs and don't let them go.
Yeah, and when everyone was going to, was it Angie
Machkala, yeah.
Yeah.
Samuel Eto'o and Willian. Was it Willian? I can't remember now.
I think it was Willian, yeah. He was definitely in Russia for a bit.
All right, but that's when the prime players start going. That's when we need to go. I guess there's one who could be happening now. Karim Benzema could be getting a new teammate at Al Ittihad on a free transfer. According to Fabrizio, once again, final details are being discussed, and then the proposal will apparently be accepted by N'Golo Kante. 100 million euros per year until 2025 for him. Apparently, the Al Ittihad directors have just arrived in London just before we started shooting this podcast to link up with the PIF Saudi delegation to prepare the documents. Because obviously the PIF thing has got to relate now to golf, because they've just, the PGA and whatever the other one was called in Saudi Arabia, they're coming together now as well. How bottomless is the bottomless pit of money?
Seemingly bottomless if they're going for... How old's N'Golo Kante now? Like 45 years old.
He's not 45, is he? I know you're joking there.
Yeah. I'm in two minds about seeing Kante go because it's one of those... I loved watching him play, but every time he played against Liverpool, he turned into the greatest player of all time and absolutely just put us to the sword. So I'm glad that we don't have to face him again, but what a player he was.
Yeah, 32 years old, which is a lot older than I was expecting. I don't know how old I thought he was, but 32 was not it. Yeah, I think he's one of the Premier League's greatest ever players. You look what he did, obviously, at Leicester, then going to Chelsea. Maybe the past couple of years, injuries and stuff have got in the way. I love the fact that, in this world where he'll be on a pretty penny at Chelsea anyway, but he just drives a little Mini, I think. I watched a video of all the Chelsea players leaving in their Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Mercedes G-Wagons and whatnot, and he just rocks up, beep, beep, his little Mini, bye-bye, see you later. Never lost a common touch, to take a line from Des Lynam's version of Raja Kipling's If.
Yeah, like Des Lynam, he does just seem like a nice fella, doesn't he? But as soon as you mentioned the Mini, I just pictured him in Mr. Bean's Mini. I was like...
just battering this random blue car that's always there for some reason.
Yeah. No little teddy bear on, with his head ripped off in the glove box. Anyway, yeah, N'Golo Kante, what a player.
Yeah, wonderful footballer. The other person who could be going there apparently is Wilfried Zaha, who is 30 years of age. Well, not apparently, he is 30 years of age. He could be off to Al Nassr, which is one of the teams I've just probably butchered the pronunciation of, but is also owned now by, majority owned by PIF. So, I don't know, it's obviously... It's sports washing. It's a weird one to get your head around. It's I don't know what you even say about it. It's as a Newcastle fan sitting here, it'll be 2 years in October since we were taken over. It's still a weird one to wrap your head around, because while it is lovely to see the football team you've supported through thick and thin go to new heights, heights we were a couple of decades ago, it's still in the back of your mind lingering where the money's come from and what the issues are going on over there and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because you like to think that, if you boycotted these teams or if you boycotted the league or whatever, that things would change. But
it doesn't matter. Newcastle fans did boycott. I boycotted under Mike Ashley and then didn't renew my season ticket, and now I find myself going most weeks. So that makes me a weird person, boycotting under Mike Ashley, but going back when the PIF are involved. But it's what can you do as a football fan? It's different, because there'll be Americans watching this thinking, why don't you just pick a new franchise? It's not like that over here, is it? You like, Newcastle's my local team. Like, I was born 15 minutes up the road from the stadium, that sort of stuff, and that's how you do it over here, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my brother tried to make me an Everton fan when I was a kid, but my dad and the rest of the family were like, no, come on, here's a red shirt instead.
Yeah. Tottenham have appointed Ange Postecoglou as head... No, I always say Postecoglou. Postecoglou. There you go, I've nailed it in one. Head coach after Celtic's domestic treble. He'll join Spurs on July the 1st after 2 years at Celtic. 2 years at Celtic in which he won back-to-back Scottish Premier League titles. Apparently Spurs held the talks with Postecoglou on Monday after agreeing terms with Celtic. Daniel Levy has been talking. He said, Ange brings a positive mentality and a fast attacking style of play. He has a strong track record of developing players and understanding the importance of the link from the academy, everything that is important to our club. Roughly translated as, we've wasted all our money on a stadium that looks like a toilet seat. I hope he develops our youth academy players.
Yeah, I've followed a few Celtic fans on Twitter, and they weren't happy about seeing him go, and I think they were less happy about the prospect of Brendan Rodgers potentially going back to Celtic as well. But it's a hell of a step up, because before Celtic I'd never heard of him, and I'm looking here at his managerial career. He's been a manager since 1996, and he's managed South Melbourne, Australia under-17s, Australia under-20s, Panachaiki, Greek team, Whittlesea Zebras, Brisbane Roar, Melbourne Victory, Australia, the Yokohama F Marinos, and then Celtic. So it's to go from Celtic to Tottenham's a jump, I mean, wait and see. Tottenham are such a weird team that I don't know. I don't really expect anything of them anymore, but depending on how they're feeling, they could end up ninth or they could end up third. So.
Yeah. I really like the appointment because obviously they've gone down the big name route the last two managers with Mourinho and Conte, and it hasn't worked. So why not give it to someone like Ange, who I think he's very different to Brendan Rodgers in terms of like a manager coming down to the Premier League from Celtic. Because when Rodgers was up there, Rangers were nowhere, but now Rangers are back up there, and still Ange is doing. Oh, bringing home the bacon to stick on the Barbie. Our first Australian reference of the podcast. I'm very sorry to all Australians watching, but I like listening to him talk. Obviously, that speech he was doing to his Australia team has been doing the rounds this week. It was just like that's spine tingling stuff. We've seen the bit where he's tearing, the wallpaper off the walls, shouting at people for not picking up runners or whatever it was, or reacting to some sort of thing. I forget what team it was. That a Celtic team talk or somewhere else?
Oh, I'm not
Have
too
you seen
sure.
it? Yeah, I can't remember who it was, yeah. But it was just... Because you never think that managers do that to footballers anymore, just shout at them. Like, when we were kids, you would just get barked at by the football coach for no reason whatsoever. So it's good to see that. And I like the fact that it's not one of the... one of the hip-hop and happening names of football being given a chance in one of the bigger teams. I like listening to him talk. I think he's obviously someone, just going off at Celtic as well, who gets the fan base. Like, I saw his press conference after the treble, he just like, I arrived here and I was a joke. No beat around the bush. I was a joke to everybody. But since then, I've turned it around. And I think I listened to a bit of TalkSport this week when they were talking about it. And there was a Celtic fan ringing in just saying he really gets what the fan base want from their team. And obviously Spurs, it's the Spursy way you hear about from years gone by, the attacking football, the flair, that sort of stuff. So it looks like that could be coming back under Postecoglou.
Yeah, you can't put a price on a manager who just gets it. Like Liverpool, we took it to Klopp straight away because we're just like, he likes a pint. He's a bit of a knobhead. He seems quite sound. He just, we like him. If the Tottenham fans buy into him, that can go a long way. I'm not too sure how his management style will work though, with some of the more, the bigger egos in there as well. I mean, I can't imagine them trying to tear strips off, Richarlison or something like that.
I reckon we could be one of the first to leave him because it seems like Postecoglou has quite a high demand, like high pressing style, and I don't know what it is about Richarlison especially, but I can't imagine him buying into that. Because you would think now, with obviously Spurs are probably going to lose Harry Kane. There was big rumours at the start of the week saying he was going to go, or Madrid will write offer like him a deal to replace Benzema, and Benzema's gone to Saudi Arabia. So it looks like they're going to have to replace Kane, but they've already got Richarlison there, who feasibly could play there. But he got one goal I think all season long in the league, and just in terms of that style, there's got to be a way you can get through, because Eddie Howe, just obviously at Newcastle, his high press style and getting the likes of even St. Maximin. I know St. Maximin's probably going to leave Newcastle to go to AC Milan apparently very soon, but even he was buying into that, and it seemed like under Steve Bruce before that he just had a free rein, and you used to hear about him, just Steve Bruce allowing him to go back to France every weekend to see his family and stuff like that, which would tell you that he is a hard sort of character to manage, but there must be a way to get it done, and I think Ange could be the guy to get them ticking. I
think it all depends, because obviously it all depends on how Spurs, if Daniel Levy opens the checkbook, because like you said, if Kane goes, they'll probably make it taste a couple of quid on them. I'd get
100 million euros was getting said the other day.
Yeah, but would they reinvest all of that? And if they even reinvested a decent chunk of that, would they reinvest it correctly? They're one of the teams that I think it all hinges on their transfer window. Because like you say, if they lose Harry Kane and don't replace him with anything good, they could be absolutely buggered for a few years.
Yeah, who do you replace him with? I can't think of a name off the top of my head. Maybe there was an Ivan Toney, potentially, before what happened, but now he's probably not going to get a move this summer.
Yeah. Gets a half for Crystal Palace. I know he's not an out-and-out striker, but anything's got to be anything to fill that void, really.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to go abroad, aren't you?
Yeah.
That was the other thing with Postecoglou as well, because just looking, again, don't watch too much SPFL. I do when it's on Sky on a Saturday afternoon and there's no Premier League on. Just looking at his transfer dealings, the players he did bring in, he did rely massively on like his knowledge of the Japanese league. Like there's the lad up front, I've forgotten the name of completely, and Maida and other people like that. It seems like that won't work in the Premier League. It seems like there's a bit too much of a jump up for players like that.
Who's up front? It's
Kyogo, that's the one.
Yes.
Remembered.
Oh. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I haven't watched SPL for years, but the the Celtic fans I follow on Twitter have seemingly really been enjoying their footy these last couple of seasons. And yeah, I won't lie, I'm not too familiar with Postecoglou, but something's got to give with Tottenham, surely.
Yeah. I just like the fact they haven't gone for one of the established names at the very tippy top of the game like they have done for the past couple of times. Less fashionable stuff. It can work. It can work. Look at Eddie Howe. And speaking of Eddie Howe, I don't know why I've linked that to highlight of the week, but he's a highlight of every week, is Eddie Howe for me at the minute. So we'll go at the highlight of the week. Do you want to kick us off with yours?
Yes. Well, I had a choice of 3 this week, but
you're allowed one.
There's only one number one for me. I know. It was Toby Alderweireld's last-minute title clinching winner for Royal Antwerp.
Graphic there's the graphic where it was like minute by minute who was at the top of the league throughout that game. 3 teams in it, by the way. I forget who the other 2 teams were, but yeah, I'll let you talk about Alderweireld.
Yeah, well, it was Union SG, Genk, and Royal Antwerp, and I think it was the 89th minute. SG could have won their first title since the 1930s. 2 minutes later, it was in Genk's hands, who were playing Antwerp at Genk, so they were 2-1 up. 94th minute. And you got hometown boy, Toby Alderweireld. I mean, he just swatted it top corner.
Yeah.
The scenes, as the kids like to say. Their first league title in 66 years. What a way to do it. They ended the season on 47 points. Genk and SG were both on 46. I mean, bloody hell.
That's a league, that's a league.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful story because, like, I saw Alderweireld has been promised in his entire career. Like, once he's done it around Europe and won whatever or come close to winning whatever he wanted to win, he would go back there and finish his career there. So to have have him follow through with that as well, just adds to the story, doesn't it?
And yeah, what was it? Mark van Bommel's the manager as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember a goal he scored against England at White Hart Lane in a friendly back in like 2001 or something. He twats it from like 35 yards out, right in the top corner. Oh.
Remember the World Cup 2010 with that famous Jabalani coming down the left and he just batters it from about 40 yards out and he just went...
And he was doing all this, by the way, just in case you don't know Mark van Bommel, he was doing all this with a 70s porn star perm.
I had a mate who looked like Mark van Bommel, so we called him Shark van Bommel.
Sure. Why Shark?
Because his nickname was Sharky, and I just went, you look like Van Bommel, Shark Van Bommel.
Fair enough. Is this because he had a massive hooter like a shark does?
No, he just... I don't even know why he was called Sharky, but he just had like the little eyes like Van Bommel, so perhaps he just had little eyes like a shark.
Fair enough. But a wonderful sense of smell nonetheless.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
My highlight of the week, I don't know where we were going there, but my highlight of the week has got to be Mark Noble going for a run in Prague. A football fan called Matt Groombridge, to give him his name on Twitter. I hope that's his real name and not just an inappropriate nickname. He's a big lad, right? So this is a fantastic start already. And he's obviously seen Mark Noble coming from a long way that way behind him. And so just as Mark Noble's approaching, that's when he's got his jog on. And the conversation goes like, he's like, "Oh, Mark, how you doing? You're all right?" And then Mark Noble replies, "Effing sweet," which is a lovely reply to say when you're on a run. Nevertheless, it just seems like Mark Noble's a lovely fella. A lovely man. So then Matt Groombridge then replies, "Hard work this, bruv, innit?" as he's doing his little jog with a can of Pilsner in his hand. Mark Noble then asks, "What you got in your hand?" And he replies, "Pilsner," and that's how the video ends. It's a wonderful little... Because you run at the wrong footballer doing that and they'll just probably give you a little slap for interrupting their very crucial, warm down, warm up, whatever it is. I know Mark Noble's not playing anymore, but, going for a run in the morning and whatnot. So just to see a little interaction like that. The big lad with a can in hand. Love it. It was a fantastic little moment.
And the fact he didn't keep it on going too long, I mean, like you said, he was half cut in the morning, so he probably couldn't have ran for too much longer. But the fact he was just like, "Right, do you think we're going to win? See you later, Noble, have a good one." And it was just lovely. Our former colleague, Mitch, is in with West Ham, and I know the fans, but from what we've heard from him as well, just everyone at that club loves him. And just seeing this, you're just like, he's all right, Mark Noble, isn't he?
Yeah, there was the footage as well after the semi-final where I think he was in a bar and he was off his face. Mark Noble, this is, by the way, not Mitch. Mark Noble. And he's just like, "Sambuc is all round." There was one guy behind him, I think he was just like, he missed him off, and the guy was like, "Oh, where's mine?" He's like, "One more, get him in." He's just getting the Sambucas in for the lads. Just stuff you don't think would happen anymore, but quite clearly does. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, lovely. Because I hadn't seen this until you'd messaged me in the week saying, "Oh, have you seen this?" sent it to us. I was like, is this what you want to see? Like, Noble looks made up to see this fella as well. Like you said, he's just like, what is it, effing lovely? Oh,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Effing sweet.
Effing sweet. Yeah.
Sweet as a gnat. Anyway, we go from the highlight of the week to the twat of the week. I'll go first. I've copied this from the Liverpool Echo. Here's the report here. A man has been charged by the Metropolitan Police for wearing a shirt that appeared to mock the Hillsborough disaster at Saturday's FA Cup final between Manchester United and Manchester City. Time to name and shame this absolute whopper. James White, 33 of Warwickshire, has been charged with displaying threatening or abusive writing likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. He was bailed to appear. At Willesden Magistrate Court in London on Monday, June the 19th. You've all seen the picture, I'm sure, on social media. We don't need to share it here. I don't know, first and foremost, who or how he got it printed. I think that's a question that needs to be asked as well. Because it looked like the official print as well. It looked like an official shirt as well. God, me little bow bun from earlier is coming up for some revenge there, Jack Atkins. It looked like it was official print, so how's that one got through the cracks? But then just what he's trying to achieve with it, because there's poking fun between fan bases is one thing, but then doing that about that is a completely different other thing, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, I know this isn't the point of it. The fact that it wasn't even Liverpool weren't involved.
Yeah,
it's like, and Liverpool fans, we've been knobheads about United, about Munich, but it's just, it needs to stop. And the whataboutery and the point scoring online when Liverpool fans and Liverpool outlets got, obviously pissed off about this, and they were just like, "Oh, what about Heysel?" And it's like, can we just not? Can we just not? At least he's been. Did you say he's been charged, remanded in custody?
Yeah, he's been bailed.
Yeah. So it's the only way it's going to stop is with.
Oh yeah, it has been charged. So he's charged with displaying threatening or abusive writing.
Yeah, we've got to come down on this kind of thing because I think we were saying on a previous podcast with certain homophobic Chelsea chants are starting to die down because there's the threat of sanctioned stadium bans, possible prosecution as well. It's just arsehole behaviour, absolute arsehole behaviour.
It's common sense as well, because football, I don't want to use the word banter, but you know what I'm trying to say. Football banter between fans has certain bounds and limits, doesn't it? And that common sense has got to be there to know you can joke about one thing with Liverpool fans or any sort of fan base, but something like Hillsborough, it just needs to be. It happened, just leave it alone in terms of the back and forth between two sets of fans.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm going to take the piss out of United fans, I might, laugh at Alex Ferguson looking upset when they lose or stuff like that. But there's a line, like you said, it can go from between, to use the word banter, to just being a complete wank, really.
Yeah.
I don't think Twitter helps because I think Twitter football discourse at the best of times is awful. And that's coming from us who are used to the wrestling discourse on Twitter as well. It's a cesspit. It needs to stop. It needs to stop.
Yeah. Who's your twat of the week?
Well, aside from who we were just talking about then, it's Bernardo Silva.
Every week. Can you explain for newcomers what this obsession is with Bernardo Silva? He's a lovely Portuguese man who has a dog called John because he has a fondness for John Stones. That's where he starts and ends for me. He
is a disrespectful arsehole who hates us, so we hate him, and I never want to see him. He's one of those players I never want to see happy. When they gave us a guard of honour, he didn't join in. I'm sure he started. They were on a coach somewhere, and he started singing anti-Liverpool songs. I'm just like, get in the bin, you little. Is
there a reason for this? Why the hatred's there? Do you know?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think it was just like our fans probably just gave him some stick one week, and he was just like, right, that's it then. No idea where it comes from. It probably is our fault. Who knows? But yeah, I'm just no. I don't want to see him happy. But he's not actually my twat of the week. It's the Roma fans. We touched on it before. The footage of Anthony Taylor trying to get through the airport as well. The one place you're not going to dick around is the airport because you could get shot. Mm-hmm. I mean, his daughter is terrified. She's crying. He's leading her in front. Someone tries to go for him, and they've got like a handler with them who chins someone. Someone throws a drink at his wife, and whether he's had a good game or a bad game, you shouldn't be harassing the man in public. Someone throws a chair, and you were saying about the difference in culture and the passion of Italian football fans, but Roma fans, these are the ones who battered Sean Cox outside Anfield for no reason. So I've not got a lot of love for elements of the Roma fan base. And I think hooliganism in general is a weird thing, because I was talking with one of my mates about this. If you've got two rival firms who are up for a scrap, you're never going to stop young, angry men, mainly, wanting a fight. If they agree, right, we'll meet here, our firm, your firm, let's have a scrap, no weapons, fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but if you're going to target innocent people, it's arseholes. I didn't like seeing it. It was a tough watch, and I like the fact that online a lot of people were calling out. It wasn't people just going, "Hey, wanker." It was just, "Oh no, that's not very nice, though."
Yeah.
Because everyone had the laugh about Mourinho waiting for him in the car park at first, but like you said before, when it's led to this, you're just like, "This isn't great. It's not a great look."
No, and it's all down to Mourinho. I think he just escalated things to a completely different level. So we spoke about that earlier on, but yeah. The whole hooligan, it feels like it's dying down, but then you see stuff like this, and it feels like a thing that maybe isn't getting reported on. Yeah, like it used to.
Yeah, because there's not as much of a problem in this country. Obviously, there's still a problem. I've known a few old hard heads from the 80s. I've met in pubs, and I'm just like, oh. They frighten me a little bit.
Hey, I got it firsthand. Me, when I went to Euro 2016 following England, like the designated like England section for like pre-drinks before the game and whatnot, they go to these pubs, England fans. It was on the marina in Marseille. And then all of a sudden, there's like maybe a couple of thousand England fans down this marina, scorching hot day in the middle of summer in France. And then all of a sudden, we just hear this commotion as two lads run through the England fans. And they had like broken off bottles, and they were just like clipping people as they were going through. And these two lads darted up this alleyway, which was sort of like to the side of where we were all drinking. And at the top of this alleyway, there was just this mob of Russian fans. They had like machetes and all sorts of weapons and whatnot. And down they came, and it was just a case of like, whoever wants to fight, please defend the rest of us who don't want to fight. I was stood on the edge of the marina ready to jump into the sea. It was that terrifying. But then eventually, after sort of 5 to 10 minutes, then the authorities came with the big water tanks and whatnot, and they all got split up. But that sort of organised hooliganism, I think it is a case that it just doesn't get reported on like it used to, because it doesn't seem that much of a widespread issue anymore, even though it quite clearly is.
Yeah, I watched a documentary on like the organised Russian hooligans, and they're amazing in the way that they properly train, and MMA style training and techniques and that, and they do still see the English fans as like the main trophy because of the widespread hooliganism in the late 70s and especially the 80s. But if it's like I said, if it's two sets of people being like, right, let's have a fist fight, I don't condone it, but if everyone agrees to it, fine. But like you said, just what are you achieving by glassing someone?
We're going back to the boss of whoever because it feels like there's going to be a boss in that sort of situation and say, oh look, boss, here's what I did, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The guy who puts on the training in the fields with the dogs and whatnot. But yeah, because then after that game, I think it was a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw. I remember Eric Dyer scored a free kick anyway for England. Then immediately at full time, they hopped the barricades into the England fans, and it was a case of trying to get out of the stadium, which is hard enough anyway on occasions like that with the amount of people there. Obviously, a big stadium like the Velodrome as well in Marseille. Yeah. And then working your way through Marseille, avoiding these big fights that were going on everywhere. It was like a war scene. Just trying to get back to your hotel as quick as possible. It was horrible to be when you don't want to be involved in that sort of situation. I bruise like a peach, Jack Atkins. I don't want to be involved in fighting.
It's like the World Cup in a few years when they're hosting it between USA, Canada and Mexico. Like, I love the idea of going to Mexico to watch football, but I'll be approaching 40 then. I don't really fancy getting concussed, so I might leave it. Might knock it on the head.
Yeah, that game was the main reason I stopped following England. I just thought because there was a little, because I did the entire campaign up until Euro 2016. I picked a world class time to be an England fan, watching Harry Kane take corners and Andros Townsend scoring in Juventus' stadium. But just there was a couple of instances, especially in that away game in Turin. I was just saying things. It's just like it's not worth the potential danger, because it was just like the World Cup after Euro 2016 was obviously in Russia, and I was just like, I know it apparently went off without a hitch and there wasn't too much trouble, but it's not worth it when you think about we're relatively safe going to a football game over here. Like you never see it. I mean, me following Newcastle, you never really see trouble.
No.
But it just doesn't seem worth it anymore.
Yeah, my old barber was a travelling Liverpool fan. He used to go to the European games, and he used to skip Italy because I think he said he'd been once or twice, and it was just so moody that he was just like, I'm not getting involved. And one of my girlfriend's best mate, they were going to some away games in Europe last season, and she's only been a Liverpool fan for 3 years, but like boyfriend's a season ticket, and he was like, we'll make a holiday out of it. And I had to text her saying, just by the way, you are not going to Italy to watch football. I was like, don't do it. And she was like, oh yeah, I've already been told we're not going. Again, that's tarring all of Italy with a brush, but if they got a reputation for it.
Yeah, and I saw it first. Like I went to Germany away as an England fan, and nothing happened there as far as that. So
yeah,
this is just sorted out Italians, for goodness sake. None of which are watching this podcast. Anyway, we move on to one of the Italian icons of all times, the Roberto Mailbaggio. Oh.
Hey, he's done it.
The onion bag, the mail bag, whatever it's going to be called. Let us know in the comments down below what the official name should be. We'll kick things off. Hello, Ross and Jack. Hope you're both doing well. I just wanted to ask, what game or moment in a game made you realise that you loved football? For me, it was Pumas Yunnan versus Tigers Unal, or UANL. I don't know what's going on here. In the second leg of the Liga MX Apertura final in 2015. To keep it short and sweet, we went into the game 3-0 down from the first leg. We won the second leg 3-0 after 90 minutes, meaning we tied the aggregate score and went to extra time. Both teams went on to score one each in extra time, and sadly my beloved Pumas lost on penalties 4-2. I do recommend watching the highlights of this game whenever you have the chance, because it was one of the greatest games I've ever watched, and I'm saying that as a fan of the team who lost in the final. There are so many details missing that truly explain why this was the game that made me realise that I had a passion for football. Maybe I'll write it again and mention those details another day, but for now, what game or moment in a game made you realise that you had a love/passion for football? Big fan of the channel and everything you both do, and I forgot to write down the name. So while you say your moment, I will quickly Google the name. I'll search the name.
You'll be surprised at this, Ross. Euro 96, England versus Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the first time, how old was I? 7. So it was the first time I remember properly just going mad for football, because World Cup 94, I was too young. I had a bit of the stuff. I remember even before that, I remember being a little kid and dancing to World in Motion and stuff like that. Just imagine, like, 2 foot tall, big beard, bald head. Oh, what a sight it was. But I properly got footy fever in 96. It was the first time. Like, my dad would have the footy on, I'd watch bits, and my brother would have football Italia on, I'd watch bits, but this was like, right, cool, I kind of know what's going on, everyone's excited. And it was in 2020 when ITV were re-showing some of the, I think, were they showing all of England's run, or were they showing all the important matches from Euro 96?
I think it showed the entire, like, England's run at the final, didn't it?
Yeah. And I put on the England-Scotland game, and just that Gaza goal is still incredible. But as a little kid, I loved Paul Gascoigne. I loved him. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was because, like I said, 1990, when he was the shining beacon of the English game, and everyone just used to go, Gaza, Jack, pretend to be Gaza, and just kick a ball and just shout Gaza and run off. But that was when I properly got involved. I remember watching the England-Germany match and crying my little eyes out on the little portable telly when England got knocked out. And after that, I was just like, this is boss. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got forced into football just because my mum wanted me to do something on the weekend, so I used to get initially forced to go to this little, like, football club on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock at the local leisure centre, just having to kick about and stuff, toe poking it, because I didn't know how to kick a ball yet. But then I remember vividly, and you'd be shocked by this one as well, watching that FA Cup final where Sander Westerveld saved a penalty in Cardiff.
Yeah.
What year that was that? 2000, 2001, something like that?
I want to say 2001.
I want to say 2001, but I remember watching that FA Cup final and seeing that and seeing the scenes of Westerveld going radio rental, then immediately going into the garage with my little brother, and we used to have this like foam football that my mum used to let us kick around the garage, just in case we knocked any of the plant pots or anything in there, you know what I mean? So just me being Westerveld and just diving on the hard, cold concrete floor of my garage with a little puddle in the corner. I remember just trying to evade the puddle every single time. But yeah, and then just from there, just wanted to play more and more football, and then just getting involved and getting better at football when you were a kid, and just getting, just playing football whenever you could, like at school or whatnot, and then you get picked for your county and stuff like that, and it's all kicking off. And then, yeah, just from that Sander Westerveld moment, that was like, wow, this is amazing. Because, my mum obviously saw that, and then I remember the season after was very soon after was the 01-02 season, which was my first season of being fully conscious of what was going on. We had the Premiership on ITV, which I think started at 7 o'clock or something, then got pushed back until what time match of the day is on now. That was on the 01-02 season, so that was there with Big Des just sitting in the front room with your pizza watching. That was fantastic. And then it spiraled for me from that Sander Westerveld final, whatever game that was.
Yeah, and you didn't get a Liverpool kiss straight away.
Absolutely not. I'm from Newcastle.
Doesn't stop some people.
Was it 01 then? Was it the one where Michael Owen scored?
It was 01 because it was part of our weird treble of FA Cup, League Cup, and Europa. Well, the UEFA Cup, the weirdest treble of all time. But yeah, bloody hell! What a first match to be introduced into the.
I can remember that little session in the garage vividly, diving and getting bruised all up my side because I was literally how old would I have been? I would have been 8 or 7 years old, maybe 6 or 7, and then just diving on the concrete floor in the garage. Remember, I miss being that young. Imagine doing that now. We'll be in hospital for a week.
Just thinking about it makes me hurt. My back hurts all the time. Did you ever put a window in with a football as a kid?
No, I came close on a fair few occasions. It was called the Circle in our estate, and it used to have a garage wall, which then obviously behind the garage wall was somebody's garden, and in the garden was a conservatory. And one day I tried to do a Beckham, that sort of era when Beckham was twatting it in against Greece and whatnot, and it went over the garage. Well, the bar was drawn on the garage wall, so it went over the garage and just hit this conservatory at a rate of knots. And you can that horrible feeling where you've hit a window and you can sometimes hear it wobbling.
Yeah.
Backwards and forwards. That noise, and I was just, don't turn it into a big old smash. And it didn't, but that's the closest I came. I've not forgot that one either. Must have been about 10 years old maybe when that one happened.
I put through our neighbour's window. It must have been 99 or 2000. There was an Adidas, it must have been a Predator advert, where it was people trying to do the Beckham free kick. And someone just goes, great big looping banana shot. So my front gate, you had the 2 gate posts, and then you had next door's gate as well, 2 gate posts. So we used my 2 gate posts and the 1 gate post there, and it made a decent sized goal. And it was me and my friend Colin Peckham, and we just
shut up, Colin Peckham. Colin? You're only 34, whatever, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 34 and I have a friend called Colin.
You had a friend called Colin in your youth. That's astonishing, that.
There was a lad in my class called Clint.
I thought your Collins and your Nigels especially would have died out in the 80s. Oh, no, sorry, 70s to go back a bit further.
No, 1988, there was a little boy born in Merseyside called Colin.
Hello, Colin.
So we were taking it in turns just to try and curl in free kicks. I can't remember if it was a flyaway or a sponge football. It wasn't a hard ball. And I just absolutely towed it into next door's window. It was a thin pane of glass, instantly shattered. We ran into my house. Luckily, no one heard it, and we kind of looked outside and saw my neighbour holding a ball like, who was this? And my conscience got the better of me, and I was like, sorry, Don, that was me. And I think he only charged me 40 quid, but at the age of 10, that's a lot of money.
That's a year's worth of pocket money at that age, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see any pocket money for a good while after that.
I tell you what, though, that's hard luck with either a foam ball or a penny floater.
Yeah, I don't know if the foam ball was soaking wet and therefore weighed like 17 pounds, but I remember being shocked, being like, "Am I that good? Is my foot like a traction engine?" It was just an old window.
Oh, the double glazing. Right, hello. Hello, I'm currently writing to you in a pool of sweat and tears at the thought of losing my beloved manager, Big Ange, to Tottenham Hotspur. I would like to get this perspective from fans of English football, so for this reason, I am writing in. I am a season ticket holder at Celtic, and I know the standard of the league isn't very good. The winner of the league gets £3 million in prize money. I didn't realise it was that low, although I guess it makes sense with the size of stadiums and whatnot up there, by and large. However, why do so many English football fans look down on players/managers that come from Scotland? Ange would be absolutely brilliant appointment if given the time, which in England is impossible, and I've seen a lot of fans on Twitter turning their nose up at the thought of his appointment. Insert my nan could score 40 in that pub league, etc, etc. I don't know if she could, she wasn't that good. I understand the gulfing class between the English and the Scottish leagues, but the TV money has a lot to do with it, obviously. Celtic, and I hate to say it, but Rangers as well are big clubs with a big fan base. Spurs don't deserve Ange, but it looks like it's all but done. This obviously said in before it was done. Very sad times, and that comes from David Moore. So why do so many English fans look down on players, managers that come from Scotland? I've got an answer straight away as a Newcastle fan. Jean-Alain Boumsong. End of discussion. £8 million I think we paid for him.
Yeah.
I was better when I was 2 years old. He was absolutely shocking. He showed, to be fair, he showed promise. It was just the physicality, maybe, that got the better of him. And concentration. And playing alongside Titus Bramble. There was a lot of reasons, right, but he didn't help himself at all. He was terrible.
I mean, we didn't sign him directly from Scotland, but obviously Andy Robertson, great, he's won everything with Liverpool. He's a little arsehole, but he's our little arsehole. It's a strange one, because you go back to the 90s, and the Scottish League had some players in there.
The 90s was a halcyon time for Scottish football, and even into the early noughties, like that Celtic team that got the Europa League final, as it would be called now, with Harton and Sutton and Petrov and
Henrik Larsson battering everyone for a few years. Gazza Gattuso for a bit was he at Rangers? Jackie McNamara. I think I don't know if it is. Because for years there was always the rumour, wasn't it? It was like, do Rangers and Celtic split off from the Scottish League and come over to England? And everyone would be like, there'll be relegation battlers. I don't know if it is just the fact that it's not those golden years of the 90s and 2000s anymore. There's still good players there, but it seems like they do need seasoning. I don't look down on Scottish football, but as I said before, I haven't watched it for a long, long time.
It's just the gap. I think the big issue for a lot of people down here, and this is me, trying to speak on behalf of people, which is always a wrong thing to do, but in my opinion, it's just the gap between. Obviously, the gap wasn't there for the last 10 years, but the gap now again between Celtic and Rangers and the rest of them, as a competition, just sort of ruins it for you. I know that obviously there's leagues around the world that are the same. You think of Spain, you think of Germany. Well, maybe not Germany in latter years, but by and large, Germany's in the same thing. France, I guess, with PSG. It's that gap between the two big teams and the rest of them. You see, like, no disrespect to the fans of, like, your Dundee United or whatever, Ross County watching them, but you look at what they are, and it's when you see it on TV, just the sort of, I don't know, you just think it's not a Premier League setting. And I know we have like teams like Bournemouth, and Bournemouth's ground isn't that big, and Luton obviously coming up this year. And that adds a bit of charm to it, I get that, but it feels like there's too much of that, and then you get Celtic and Rangers up there who are streets ahead, and that ruins it as a competition, maybe. I don't know if that's something you agree with.
I don't know if... We'd have to ask more Scottish football fans, but for those fans of the other teams, aside from, Hearts, Hibs, Rangers, Celtic, for the rest of it, has there been greater following grown for rugby over the years and stuff, that people just like, there's no point of, and they turn the back on the game? Is there less appetite for it, maybe? I'm not too sure. That's just plucked out my arse as a, I don't know what's gone on kind of thing, but...
Yeah, and potentially, that's it from just a purely, like, sort of team perspective. But you look at players coming down, they don't have the greatest success record, do they? Because you think of, Robertson's obviously, he bucks the trend. But you think of, like, Jelavic was tearing things up in Scotland. He comes down to Everton. Yes, I think he had a good start for Everton.
Yeah, he did.
Then he died off. But it feels like whenever someone comes down for a fair chunk of money from Scotland, by and large, they don't quite hit the heights they did up in Scotland. So it tells you that maybe the Scottish League is a couple of rungs below the Premier League.
Yeah, cause I remember when the formerly Scouse Cafu, John Flanagan, when he went over to Scotland, and some of us at the time were just like, is that a step down for him, or has he found his level kind of thing? Because he was all right for a little bit for us, but then dropped off and personal life issues and stuff. But there does, yeah, I hadn't even contemplated it before, but there is a kind of unspoken stigma.
Because you look at it as a Newcastle fan again, James Tavernier is obviously Rangers captain now. I think he scored like 100 goals for Rangers getting up to 100 goals, going past that last season as a right back. Like at Newcastle, he had a couple of little sniffs, but you're thinking, he's all right, but maybe Championship's going to be his level. He then goes around a few clubs. I think he went to Wigan in the Championship and stuff like that. Then he joined Rangers when they weren't obviously in the Premier League, and he's developed into one hell of a Scottish League player, like Scottish Premier League player. Like he's got just from again. Looking at stuff like Rangers and Celtic on TV, he looks like one of the better players in the league up there at the moment. Yeah. He's scoring 100 goals from right back, for goodness sakes. But again, it's just that stuff like he couldn't make it at Newcastle and he couldn't make it at certain teams around the Football League down here in England. He's gone up to Scotland and he sort of added to that sentiment that the Scottish League is a couple of rungs, maybe even below the Championship. You look at like Tavernier as a case study potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a player and you had it's a weird one, isn't it? If you had the choice between going to the Championship and thinking, right, you could be in a very competitive league and hopefully get to the Premier League, or go to Scotland and think you could end up in Europe.
And with lots of medals, potentially.
Yeah,
it's a weird one. You just got to take it's a case by case thing, because they have, as you say, Robertson. I'm struggling to think of Stephen Naismith did a job for Everton for years. People like that do come down. Peter Lovenkrands at Newcastle, he came down and he was a very solid player. For us, not a good point of our history, but he was still one of the better players on the pitch for us.
When Fergie was still at United, and he was just taking all the best Scottish players to be his B team, really, wasn't it? Like
Andy Gorham.
Yeah.
That was a weird one. That was a weird transfer. But yeah, you've got to take it on case by case, I think. But I think that stigma largely comes from the fact when you watch it on TV and you just see it, it just doesn't look. I know that's the wrong way to look at things, but I think that's me trying to explain why I think it is looked down so much by English fans.
I mean, it's as good an answer as any, I suppose.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Final question. Hi, Ross and Jack. Been thoroughly enjoying the content in the podcast. And the podcast is an excellent addition. My question to you guys is regarding season tickets. I'm a Newcastle fan and have been for 10 years, but living in Cardiff, I've never had a chance to see Newcastle play live. Now I'm turning 18 and have my own money to spend. I've been looking at buying a season ticket, transportation to Newcastle for 19 games, plus any other games I could possibly attend that aren't included in the season ticket, by the way, just in case you didn't know. Will not be cheap, however. Factoring that, I probably can't afford. I probably can't attend every game due to the costs and work. Is it still worth purchasing a season ticket to see the Mighty Toon and attending every game I can, or looking at a package deal for a one-off game instead? Kind regards, fellow Magpie Finn. P.S. How does Europa feel, Jack? He's had a little barb at you.
He's had a little nibble. He's had a little nibble. To start with, how does Europa feel? All right, I suppose. Hopefully, we can give some of our lesser seen players a bit more game time. Tinker with the tactics, try some stuff out, and hopefully win the bastard.
You think he'd be one of the favourites, surely, even with the Champions League dropouts and whatnot.
Yeah.
But as for the question, I think you just don't get the season ticket. One, because it's going to be impossible for you. I mean, I'm a Newcastle fan who's got a club membership, and I went to a fair few games towards the end of the season there, and I've got no chance of getting a season ticket because of the waiting list. So there's no point in trying. Just buy a ticket for a game as and when you can make it, if they're still available. That's what you got to do. Just look for when the general sale goes on, and just get your laptop or whatever loaded up a couple hours before the window opens at 10 a.m. Just have your page loaded ready, because that's how you get a good place in the queue. Get your ticket for the game, get your travel sorted, and then that's it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I lived in London in 2010, and my boss was a Liverpool fan, and he used to do the same. He'd be like, right, we've got these games coming up, do you want a ticket? I'm going to hop on and try and get it for you. And it was just a case of being online at the right time and trying to figure it out. I don't know how Newcastle works now, but Liverpool, it's a right fanny on to try and get tickets off people now for Liverpool.
I've got a group of like 5 or 6 pals who I go with, and we literally have just been opening browser windows at like an hour or two before the what's the right way to put it? Like it goes on sale at 10 a.m. So we log on at 7 or 8 in the morning, just have the browser open with you, the page ready, and then when it all goes live, you then get your place in the queue, and it worms its way down, and then without thinking now, we just go for level 7. We go for that little block of seats next to the away fans, because we know there's going to be tickets available there. We could try and get tickets lower down, but it's not worth the hassle of like going through all, because you have to, in Newcastle, you have to click on a section of seats, then they pop up and show you what's available, but you're not guaranteed to know if you can get like 5 together. So we just go top, level 7, right at the top. It's a good view from up there, gets bad press, so we know we're going to get tickets there, so we just go for that one straight away.
Yeah, and then go to Pizza Punks beforehand as well.
Yep, it's tradition now. Superstitious. Yeah,
I just usually find a mate who can't go and be like, yeah, I'll take your ticket off you. But now you've got to have a, I can't remember what it's called, like a supporters profile online, and you've got to download a digital wallet, and you've got to add your friends. You can't just get your ticket off some random fella. You can have it transferred to you via ads.
That's a bit of missed stuff. You have to pay I think it's £36 a season to be a member of the club.
Yeah.
And then you link your memberships together, and then when you're buying the tickets, you assign one ticket to each member. So yeah, you need a membership as well to do what I said earlier.
Well, I was told recently that this season as well, you've got to have your friends list sorted before the season starts. You can't add people afterwards. So I'm going to have to message all my mates and be like, can I be cheeky and jump on your friends list just in case? Years ago, my cousins had dodgy season tickets before they did an amnesty.
What does that mean? Dodgy season tickets?
They were real season tickets, but what people used to do was, if they decided, I can't be arsed having a season ticket anymore, they'd still buy it and then sell it on, if you know what I mean. For the full ticket, it wouldn't be match by match, they'd sell the full ticket. So my cousin, Mike, I think his season ticket was under the name of Charlotte or something like that. And I used to take it off him sometimes. They didn't check, they just scan it and you were through. And then they had an amnesty to basically say, look, if you've got a season ticket which isn't in your name, come forward, we'll sort it out. And obviously the waiting list for season tickets was going on for years and years and years, and we've got the extended Annie Road end opening soon. And apparently the waiting list was, I don't know if it was paused and closed or if it was completely just shut off and being like, you've missed your chance kind of thing. So I'm waiting for that to open and seeing if it's a case of being like number 45,000 in line or being like, oh crap, I'm number 6, because if I can get hold of one, I'm getting hold of one.
Yeah, big time. But do you have to buy a club membership as well to get onto that friends list thingy?
No, to buy general sale tickets, you got to buy your club membership for a year. But just for this friends and family one, because I came back to Liverpool right at the end of the season. My mate told me through it. He was like, yeah, it's only been like this for like the last season. He's like, go do this, this, this and this. Add me, add this, sorted. And that didn't cost me a penny. But yeah, I'm going to have to get a proper membership and all that sorted for start of the season at least.
Do you know how much yours costs?
Probably about 35, 40 quid.
Yeah, I was just 36. Oh, yeah. Comparisons between memberships, eh?
Not like the glory days, like what did I famously say once? It was 25 quid for a Tranmere season ticket.
Yeah, I'm going to have to price up a gate if I want a season ticket in the North East, I think, now.
Yeah.
The numbers you hear for the waiting list now at Newcastle is like a ridiculous. Like you hear, but for season tickets, it says you hear like 30,000. There was an old fellow I was speaking to a few weeks back at I think it was just before the Leicester game, 60,000 he was like saying as well. So it's getting a ticket is hard when you're doing well.
Oh God,
I think that's the moral of the story we've worked out there. So we end this week's podcast with the big questions segment, and the news broke 17 minutes to be precise just before we sat down to record here that Lionel Messi has chosen to go to Inter Miami. The former Barcelona player is set to reject a lucrative move to Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal, that team over there, to go to Inter Miami. He was apparently waiting for a deal from Barcelona as well. He apparently was in talks with Barcelona this week, but that didn't happen for such an emotional return. I wish he went back to Barcelona, but it can't be for whatever reason. The Miami deal, just in case you're wondering, is going to be a collaboration from brands like Adidas and Apple, because that is what football is these days. Apparently he wanted to remain in Europe for another season, but had no satisfactory offers, and it was a straight choice between Inter Miami or Al Hilal, and he's going to Inter Miami. So today's big question, as you can see down below, is how gutted are you that Phil Neville will not be managing Lionel Messi. We were 2 weeks, I think, away from Phil Neville demanding respect from Lionel Messi. Show me some effing respect, he said in that press conference.
The idea of Phil Neville trying to tell Lionel Messi what to do just sent my head to the moon. I could not get my head around it. Imagine him just be like, Mr. Messi, sir, can you do this? And then just being like, no, I'm just going to do what I want because I'm clearly the best player in this league. And he'd be like, yeah, great, thank you.
Just imagine him sitting down going, right, Lionel, I've got this thing that Jordi Cruyff used to do back at Manchester United back in 1999 when we won the treble. And I want you to start playing like Jordi Cruyff. Maybe even Ryan Giggs. Giggs can't even lace Lionel Messi's boots, never mind Jordi Cruyff.
The Jordi Cruyff, that's right.
We actually had someone like Jonathan Greening come through, and something I liked about Jonathan Greening's game is the way he used to cut inside with his right foot, Lionel. Lionel, you should play like Jonathan Greening.
What you need to do, you need to get yourself a fishing rod, like Lee Sharp, beautiful angler with Sharpie. And what you need to do to clear your head, get down to the Miami Sound and catch some bass or something. I don't know.
I tell you, listen to Phil Neville talk. It's funny at the most normal of times, but hearing him try to be a football manager, I can't do it with that voice. I know it's hard to pick on someone for their voice because you're born with it. There's not much you can do about it. But hearing him try to demand respect in that press conference is one of my highlights of last season. The fact that after he kicks off, then goes, sorry, could you ask me the question again?
It's not the fact that it's just his voice either, it's the fact that it's Phil Neville. I think that's combine the two.
Why is Phil Neville looked down on so much? Because he had one hell of a career. He was at Man United for 7, 8, 9 years in the first team. He goes to Everton, they didn't win anything, but they were always,
He was captain, wasn't he? Yeah,
captain of Everton, playing centre midfielders. Obviously that game where he wiped out Ronaldo, which obviously got everyone on side. He was a hell of a Premier League player, but there's this lack of respect for Phil Neville that's there with every football fan, probably apart from the Neville family themselves.
he's just been waiting to snap for the best part of 20 years, hasn't he? He really has.
Is it because he's Gary's brother? Is that all it is?
I think it must be. And the fact that his brother was, even though they won the same trophies up until a point at Man United, just the fact that Gary Neville was 10 times the player that Phil Neville was as well.
I mean, was he 10 times the player? Is it not just a case... This is me playing devil's advocate, by the way. Is it not just a case that Phil Neville could never nail down a position like Gary did?
I'll be kind and I'll say that could come into play, yes.
I've just realised how pink I am. I went to East Kilbride last Saturday, and the heat there was unbelievable. That's why I'm so pink, by the way. We watched the FA Cup final. Honestly, I thought it was abroad. It was 22 degrees, but it felt like it was 32. It was astonishing. In East Kilbride in Scotland, just in case you're wondering.
Bloody hell.
Half an hour north of Glasgow or something like that. But we got to talk about Messi going to Miami. What can you say? It's a shame, isn't it?
He'll look beautiful in that pink kit, though. Whoa.
They have got nice kits, haven't they?
Yeah. It's... Part of me is kind of going, respect for not, following the money and going to Saudi Arabia, and instead, following the money and going to the MLS instead. But it's because a lot of Barca fans were, I don't know if they were actually convinced or they were just trying to will it into existence that he'd rejoin them, because Liverpool were being linked with Frank Kessie last week. I don't know if that was just rumour mongering or something put out by Kessie's agent, but the belief was that Barcelona need to try and trim the fat a lot more and try and say to La Liga, look, if we can get Messi back, it'll be good for the league, for one last hurrah, the money that will come in, the tourism, because they're out of the new camp for at least one season, aren't they, while they redevelop it. So they're thinking our match day revenue's going to take a hit, so if we can get Messi back and sell some shirts, then fingers crossed it could help them get out of the financial mud.
Yeah, obviously the World Cup was a dream scenario. Obviously probably his last World Cup he's ever going to play in, you would think.
Yeah.
And then obviously winning it finally, so he can stick his head and shoulders above Ronaldo, and who is the GOAT of all time. The GOAT of all time, the greatest of all time. But it is a shame how things have sort of unravelled at PSG. I'm just looking at his record here in the league. 26 games last, or 21-22 season, only 6 goals. Last season, 32 appearances, 16 goals. 75 appearances in all for Paris Saint-Germain, 32 goals. We know there was that trip recently he did to Saudi Arabia, which pissed off the PSG fans who are quite vocal when they don't like a player, as we're seeing with Neymar rocking up to his house and getting involved. Well, like Italian fans, I guess that's up there, isn't it? Sorry, the PSG fans go to someone's house to try and get him out the club.
Up the PSG.
It is garden wall going, leave, will you? We don't quite like it. But it is a bit of a shame because it was strange. We always understood why Messi left Barcelona with the trouble they were in financially and whatever else went into it. But it is a shame to see how things did sort of unravel for Messi at PSG. The fact that they did go for, in the first season especially, let's just pepper this team with as many stars as we can and let's hope it works. The second season, obviously, they brought in, oh my God, what was his name? The manager? Mr. Manager, they brought in to sort of blend more of a team together rather than just, Mr. Manager, who you start off on FIFA before you change the name to your actual name. Why have I forgotten his name? They brought him in to make more of a team of it, and that didn't work either.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Are you thinking Pochettino?
Christophe Gaultier, that was the one.
Oh, right.
They brought him in to make it more of a team and go less star power, more unity, while giving the entire club to Kylian Mbappé, seemingly.
Well, I was just about to say that I think the one person who will be made up right now is Mbappé, that all the focus is fully on him again. But I don't mind the idea of Messi in the MLS. We were saying before about Zlatan going to... when he went to LA Galaxy and just started banging them in and still went back to Milan and won the league. Yeah. Who knows? You never know. I think someone was saying... Andrew in our chat was saying that he's heard a rumour that because of the way that the MLS is set up as opposed to the European Domestic League, that he could be loaned back to Barcelona, like what Galaxy did with Beckham to AC Milan towards the tail end of his career.
January or something like that for the first half of the until I think it's about March time, isn't it, when the league starts? So.
Yeah, so if there is every chance we could see Messi back in a Barcelona shirt, who knows?
Yeah, because I was seeing the obvious links because Newcastle's got money now. Lionel Messi and Neymar both got to sign for Newcastle this summer. I was like, nah, we don't want people like Lionel Messi playing for Newcastle. But I don't know what it is about him. I don't want to see him playing leagues like the French league and the MLS. I want to see him at the tippy top, just not for my team. I don't fully trust him now after what's happened to PSG. It's a weird thing to say, but I don't know what. It's 35 years of age now. He's obviously done everything there is to do. I guess just let him enjoy his final years of his career. Let him go and make a little bit more money, because obviously he's been paid very little up until now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because I remember laughing before he left Barcelona, and he was like, "Oh, I'll take a bit of a pay cut." I was like, "Come on, mate, you're on more money than King Solomon. You can play there for free and still be fine. Your sponsors can pay you." I
was going to say his wage from Adidas must be equal to or more than what he makes in terms of his playing contract, surely.
Easily, and he's Pepsi, one of the faces of Pepsi as well, isn't he?
Mm.
So, and all various other things. You always hear about these just weird little stuff they've got in country-specific places. He's probably the face of, I don't know, a hamburger chain in Greece as well. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But we came perilously close to Phil Neville being Lionel Messi's manager, but unfortunately it'll never come to pass. I should actually have a look. Let's have a look at the Inter Miami squad. I've never even considered who he's going to be playing alongside.
I'm sure
Inter Miami.
Did they have a crap season last season?
They had Higuain, didn't they, for a couple of years? Let's have a look at the first team squad. Let's try and find the first team squad. First team squad, we've got Drake Callender, the goalkeeper. DeAndre Yedlin is there. I'm trying to look at the names I recognise here. There's nobody I recognise. Harvey Neville, I assume, is Phil or Gary's son. Let's have a look at that. Whose son is he? Harvey Neville. He's apparently going to turn up for the Republic of Ireland.
He's the son of Phil Neville.
He's the son of Phil Neville. He's made 45 appearances in the league for Inter Miami so far. He's a defender. Who else is there? There's got to be one more recognisable name. There's got to be one more. There's nobody. I only know DeAndre Yedlin, that's it. So... Yeah. He was an average Premier League player at best, so all the best to Lionel Messi playing alongside a who's who of He's going to be managed. Who's that of Football Manager? Just in case you're wondering, Javier Morales is the current interim manager or player manager, whatever. Manager. He retired in 2016. He's an Argentine 43-year-old. He played for Newell's Old Boys. I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch Messi, I guess, playing in the MLS. I've turned around in just the space of a few minutes there, looking at how perilous a situation they have at Inter Miami.
Yeah, because I'm gonna go from this season. As you can tell, I haven't watched that much footy this season, and obviously now we're doing this more regularly. I'm going to have to pull my finger out my arse. But here I am thinking, oh yeah, as soon as you get them in the shirt, we'll get the Inter Miami game on. I'll stay up till 4 a.m. and watch it. Who cares?
Yeah, your pronunciation of the word shirt there is not going to go down with YouTube, but that's your scouse that's coming through. That's not my fault.
Well, if they say anything, then they're racist.
They are racist. YouTube are racist. Right, we'll wrap things up there. That's another episode of the Hold and Give Football Podcast. Done any closing remarks before we go away? I'm just gutted that Phil Neville left them.
I'm just hoping that the light behind me is not playing too much havoc with the camera.
No, you've looked like an angel all episode. The fact you've had like a halo, an oblong halo.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm in my actual home office now, and I did a podcast recording with Tom the other day, and I had a big, thick, dark blanket-like curtain up. So I was just sweating and bald in the dark like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. Just like... So I thought I'd change it up, but it's all right. It's a bit of a mess in the back, but apart from that, it's all right.
Yeah, a bit of a mess in the front. Hopefully my sunburn dies down before next week's episode, because it's quite unflattering as I'm sat here right now. East Kilbride is really hot. Let us know what you think of the podcast down below. How good are you that Phil Neville didn't get to manage Lionel Messi at Inter Miami? Just leave a like as well. Give us a subscribe. All those good things you can do for free to support little rinky-dink channels like this one here. So I've been Ross, joined by Jack Atkins. We'll see you at the same time-ish next week. It depends how long Adobe Premiere takes to export the thing, because it's varied at the moment, Jack, because let me tell you, it's a learning experience. But we'll see you later. Goodbye, everyone.